Now, the key to dealing with I want to think about it is by using the classic intention statement. The intention statement is a simple question to your homeowner, usually somewhere in the front of your presentation, and it's designed to kind of lay the groundwork. It's designed to close the I want to think about it door. Now, the intention statement is a very subtle process. Some people use what's called the upfront contract. The upfront contract is kind of the intention statement on steroids, right? The upfront contract sounds something like this. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if I can get you the right system today and the right budget, any reason you couldn't make a purchasing decision today, right? Now, that's pretty much in your face. And if you can do that, if you can ask that powerful upfront contract question, by all means, keep doing it. Don't stop doing it if it's working for you. But what I found in my experience of years of doing this and thousands of service technicians and salespeople is that because they can't really do the full-on upfront contract, they end up avoiding the question altogether. And if you avoid the question altogether, you know what's going to happen? Then at the end, the homeowner's going to walk right out that I want to think about it door. You've got to close the I want to think about it door. It's critical to your success. So the question is, how do we do it? Well, what I like to do is at the end of my comfort survey, at the beginning of my presentation, I go to the comfort survey. I ask the questions about hot and cold spots, indoor air quality, efficiency, all of those questions. Once I get through that questionnaire, I simply ask the intention statement like this. I'll say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, have you ever had a bad experience with a pushy salesman? And they'll say yes, and they'll tell you some story. And I'll say, well, listen, I've got great news for you. I'm not a pushy salesman. I'm not going to be the guy calling you back next week, bugging you about this heating and air conditioning system. I don't want to be that guy making you crazy like the car guy, right? What I have found is best for my homeowners is that I take all the time that I need here tonight, that you need here tonight to answer all your questions. I don't care if it takes me 3 hours. However much time you need, that's how much time I got. I want to answer those questions. I want to design the right system. And of course, I want to make sure it fits in the monthly budget. And all I ask at the end of that process is one simple question. Just let me know one way or the other whether or not you think I'm a good fit for you and your family. And by the way, no is a perfectly acceptable answer. That's how I set up my presentation. And they will give me the affirmation I want, the yes. They'll give me the affirmative response I want because I'm taking the pressure off by saying no is a perfectly acceptable answer. They don't feel trapped. They feel like, yeah, I can let you know at the end. Now when I get to the end, the bottom line is I've closed the I want to think about it door. If I get down to the end and my homeowner says, well, it's a great system, it's a great price, but me and the missus, we got to think about it. We got to pray on it. We got to talk about it, right? All those different excuses. I can simply refer them back to our previous conversation that happened an hour earlier at the beginning of the presentation. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, earlier you said that if I answered all your questions, designed the right system, and got it in the right monthly budget, that you could let me know today whether or not we're a good fit. Now you don't seem quite as sure. Has anything changed in our time together? Well, no, nothing's changed. It's just a lot of money. It's, you know, I understand it's a big decision. But with your permission, what do you say we start the paperwork? And what happens in that moment is I'm kind of putting them on the spot a little bit, right? In sales, you can't be afraid of tension. If there's no tension in the sales process, then you're not doing your job because you're not asking the questions. And I'm going to tell you something. So many sales professionals, so-called professionals, are afraid of tension, and so they never ask closing questions, so there's never any tension, and the whole thing just kind of falls apart at the end. You hand off your business card, and you hope for a call next Tuesday, right? You have to be comfortable with creating tension. Creating tension is what creates the urgency. The urgency is what forces the homeowner to make a decision. And ultimately, my objective on the lead is to get my homeowner to make a final decision, yes or no. No is a perfectly acceptable answer, but I want a final decision while I'm sitting there right there in front of them. I don't want them making the decision after I leave, because after I leave, I'm just a number on a sheet of paper. I want them to make the decision with me right in front of them, and if I can do that, most of the time it'll be yes. But to do that, I have to get comfortable with creating some tension. So when my homeowner tells me up front they can let me know if I'm a good fit, and then an hour later they tell me they need to think about it, I've got to hold them responsible, hold them accountable to that previous declaration. Is that going to elevate the tension? Absolutely. That's exactly what I want. And what happens when they feel that tension, they feel something called cognitive dissonance. They feel anxiety inside because they know they did tell you an hour earlier that they could let you know today whether or not you're a good fit. Now they're telling you they got to think about it. So that distance between what they said and what they're doing creates dissonance. Again, consistency principle says public declarations dictate future actions. So now they're obligated to take actions consistent with their previous words. How do they do that? They buy from you, right? Now, will it work 100 times out of 100? Of course not. But if you're closing 40 or 50%, it will work on one or two of the ones you're missing, right? If you're losing 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, it'll work once or twice on those. And that's all we're talking about here, getting a few extra deals at the margins. So I want to think about it is one of the most difficult situations you can face, one of the most difficult obstacles you can face. But the reality is if you handle it properly, if you set the groundwork up front, then it's no big deal at the end.